Hey, welcome back to another episode of A Warrior Spirit where the inner warrior shines in their light. Today, I am honored and thrilled to have Mercedes Hale back. Mercedes is a mom. She's a joy and a light. She's an influencer on social media, and she's just an all-around good person. Mercedes actually was the inspiration and the catalyst for starting A Warrior Spirit. When I was hearing that I was supposed to do a podcast, at that time, I didn't even own a microphone or a camera. And I came across Mercedes and Mercedes's story, and it was the extra nudge that I needed to go buy a camera and get a microphone and share her journey. And the warrior spirit was born out of that. And Mercedes, I'm just so honored and blessed, to have you as that spark that started this, because now we're 2 years into it and heading into year three. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Daryl. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity and the platform that you give people to share their story. And I'm honored that you asked me to be your first one. So thank you for that.
Well, you have an amazing story, and anyone that wants to go see it, it's up on our YouTube channel, A Warrior Spirit, and her story, along with hundreds of others now, are out there. So you have done an amazing job of transforming your life. For those who didn't watch the first episode or haven't seen it, you started off in a pretty rough situation, homeless and on drugs and living in the streets. And through your own hard work and the grace of God, you turned your life around. And today you have a wonderful, beautiful relationship with a man that you adore, and he adores you. You have a beautiful son who's just growing and blossoming, and you guys just embody everything that stepping into your authentic life should be.
Thank you. I can't help but smile.
Yeah.
Thank- It's
You
true.
you recently got to share your story at your church. They asked you to come and share your story. And I know when we first started, you were very inward. You were very hesitant to bring that information out and to share it with the world. Now that you've stepped more into your love and more into your light and more into your authentic life, how has the world changed for you since then?
A lot from the inside out. I grew up in church when I was young. I did a missions trip and I knew of God. I was brought up in God, but there wasn't really a connection there that I fully understood or felt, at least not like I feel now. And then when I started, getting into drugs and living that lifestyle, it separated me so far from God and peace and love and everything. And I kind of just stayed at a distance for a while. When I moved here 10 years ago, I started to reconnect with God. I started going through the 12 steps, and it asks, to find a God of your understanding, and I wrote down all the things I wanted, my God to be and how I perceived him. And that was, who I prayed to. And at that time, it was just a higher power. I wasn't, sure exactly, what to call it. And I was trying to figure things out on my own. Like I'd been raised in church. I knew what my family believed in and friends believed in, but I was trying to come to that on my own and not just do it because I was told to or because I grew up in it. And but the more I started searching and really started putting my heart into it, that was when I started feeling that true connection. And when it was Easter, around Easter this last year, that it hit me like a ton of bricks. And now I know that I know that I know that I know. Like there is no questioning it, and I wish everybody could have that experience. And the few people well, I've talked to a lot of people about it, but the few people that I've really talked to about it that truly understand, they say the same thing. It's just this unexplainable feeling, this unconditional love, and it's just, out of this world. But it all kind of started because of all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I would be watching all these YouTube videos and interviews and documentaries about how there's an asteroid, coming to us, and all the wars that are breaking out, and just all this crazy, crazy stuff you see on the news all the time, which I don't watch the news. I do my own research. But and it was just weighing down on me. And I was telling Tristan about it, because I was losing my joy, I was losing my peace, and I was just constantly thinking about it and stressed about it and looking up all this stuff. And Tristan tried to, be there for me the best he could. And he's like, this isn't the Sadie, I know that worries about all this stuff. Like, practice the things that you've learned that you teach others too. And I'm like, I know you're right. Like, it's out of my control, and just let it go and focus on what I have control of, which is my thoughts and actions. But no matter how much I talked about it to him or my mom or anybody, that turmoil and that perpetual anxiety and fear was in me. And I started, praying and talking to God. And I just, I was overcome with peace. And it only grew from there. Um, I started listening to songs like I usually wouldn't listen to, like Christian music. And whereas I didn't really want to listen to it before, I'd rather listen to some hard rock or, something like that. Like, I was drawn to those songs. They gave me peace. And the song Spirit Lead Me by Oceans, I broke down into tears. I still cry when I listen to it, but I broke down into tears. And I just felt like God was speaking to me, and he was telling me, he was going to guide me and everything was going to be okay. And there's multiple songs after that that I would listen to. And I started going back to church, and I feel like God is so much bigger than church. God is everywhere. He's bigger than anybody can comprehend. But I do love going to church because I feel God at the church I go to, and I feel true love and honesty. And also I get to hang out with other people, that feel the same way as I do, and we get to share our love for God and our experience. And so but yeah, I started going, back to church more, and I started getting more involved. Um, and I started, watching different things on YouTube instead of, doom and gloom and it's the end of the world and World War III and all of this catastrophe is going to happen. And instead, I started watching more things again that were uplifting, inspiring, and all those fears and anxiety just disappeared, and they haven't come back since. As long as I keep focusing on God, I have that peace inside that nothing and no one can take away.
Well, it is it is proven fact. What we concentrate on is what our life evolves to. And when we focus on the doom and gloom, we find doom and gloom. And when you focus on positivity, you find positivity. And I caution the audience and I caution my clients. And I say this all the time, so they're going to hear it again. There's a difference between being positive and being toxic positive.
Hmm.
And toxic positivity is everything sunshine and rainbows and, unicorns and fairy dust. That's not the case. Positivity is knowing that in your darkness there is hope, and in your darkness there is a way out, and in your problem there is a solution. And oftentimes that comes with our connection to whatever our God is, or what we find our inner peace in, not in the man-made world, but in the spiritual world and in the
Yep.
spiritual realm. And you alluded to the fact that you went back to church, but you also reconnected with God outside of church. So it is not the man-made establishment to where we find the connection in our heart. It's in our actual relationship to whatever we deem to be our creator, whether we call it God, universe, spirit,
Yep.
whatever. That's where that true inner peace starts. And then going to the establishment to find the extra connection with like-minded people is a bonus and a help. But you actually stepped away from the same church you're now going back to because you weren't finding the peace that you were seeking. So what got you reconnected?
So, I started going to a few different churches when I was younger, and a lot of the things that I had seen, and I know this happens with a lot of people, but I got God and people mixed up. I put people on a pedestal and I reflected them with God, like, well, I don't want what they have. Like, why would I want to be a Christian or follow Jesus, if that's what's going to, if I'm going to be like that? No, I don't want any. No, thank you. And it took a little bit of growing up and understanding things more to see that that's obviously not how it is. But I and then I started going to Inspire when I moved here, and Jaden was dedicated to the Lord there too when he was a baby. And I kind of, I honestly don't even know why I stepped away, because it was an amazing church in 2017 when I first started going, and it's an amazing church now. It was more, I needed to work through some things. I thought, like, I felt God while I was there with them, but when I stepped away, I didn't feel that, feeling. I feel like I was working towards the feeling I felt now, but it wasn't there yet. And then when I left Inspire, I didn't, feel it at all. And so, and it's funny because how it actually happened was when I came back, my Tristan's mom, she was getting sober and changing her life. My mom and I were trying to help her, so we were taking her to meetings, and we also took her to Inspire. And so taking her to Inspire and trying to help her is basically what led to me connecting with God. I was taking her there, and since I was already there anyways, it was for her though, and then it ended up being for me. And I just, the more being there and being around, people that love God, and also the worship music and everything, and the power that you feel in that, is what eventually led to me having that huge breakthrough, that reconnection, true connection with God like I'd never felt before. So,
What's interesting is that when most non-Christians are asked why you don't believe in God, they'll say because I've met Christians.
yep.
And people they try to personal experience, not pers personal judgment, but just personal experience. People try to hide behind religion as their end all be all. Oh, I'll just go say a couple of Hail Marys and I'll be forgiven, or I'll just go to confession and I'll be saved. Well, what you're doing Monday through Saturday is just as equally as important as what you're doing on Sunday.
Right.
And you have to live that embodiment, not just talk about that embodiment. And that's why I say I find more peace with Christ sitting looking at an ocean or a mountain or walking in the forest than I do sitting in a pew listening to a guy talk.
Right.
Um, so, the fact that you found a home where you can feel that word and live that embodiment is amazing. Um, you also spend a lot of time helping others recover from what you came from. You spend a lot of time um, helping those who have either been involved in drugs or alcohol, finding sobriety and staying sober. Other than because it's actually living a Christ-like life, other than that, why do you find that so important?
There's a saying in the program, in AA and NA, Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, to keep it, you have to give it away. And it's so true. And I know there's, like me, when I first came into the program, and like others, you're afraid to be a burden on somebody. And it's a it's a big commitment when you become a sponsor to someone, to have a sponsee in the program that you help through the steps, you do their step work with them, and you like dedicate yourself to them as long as they're willing to do the work. But it helps the sponsor out more than the sponsee. I truly believe it keeps you in check. It keeps reminding you that it's still not working out there on the streets. It reminds you of, and then also as a sponsor, you're supposed to continuously go through the steps yourself too. It's like an onion, peeling back the layers. You don't just come into the program, do the steps once, and then you're done. That's it. It's a continuous thing. But going to the meetings, sharing your experience, strength, and hope, there's power in that. There is. And you're supposed to give back what was given to you. When I first came into the rooms, I had a whole group of people and amazing women that were there for me. They gave me a phone list I could call at any moment. We went out and we did things together. It was an amazing fellowship, an amazing support system. Ones who truly understood me and what I was going through. Anything I had done, I'm sure they had done 10 times worse, and they helped heal me from that shame and that guilt. And then when my sponsor helped me go through the steps, basically the steps is you admit you have a problem, you find a God of your understanding. They say in the program it could be a doorknob, it could be, anything, but it just needs to be something higher than yourself that, has more power than you do. Um, and you accept that God, you write down all your shortcomings and basically everything that's happened in your life, anything bad you've done, and then anything bad anybody has done to you. And the whole process is a healing process and amending process. And then you go through and you make your amends. Your sponsor goes through each thing with you, somebody that you fully trust, that you can share your deepest, darkest secrets with, someone that their loyalty, their trustworthiness is just impeccable. And they help you go through each thing. And like with some of your amends, I'll just make up a situation. While you were using, you robbed somebody for some money, and that person is on your list of amends you need to make. When it's safe to do so and it won't injure yourself or others, you make that amends. Obviously, if it's dangerous, you don't go do that, and your sponsor helps you figure all that out. And you're able to go and pay them back, or there's somebody that isn't alive anymore. You write a letter to them apologizing, and you do a living amends where you change your life. You don't repeat any of that old behavior. You're continuously growing and bettering yourself and putting good into the world and mending, making whole what was once wrong. And that whole process is just, it's so healing. The weight that gets lifted off your shoulders is unexplainable. And but uh but yeah, so that process, and then helping somebody else go through that and watching when they first come into the rooms, and then helping them through that process, and then seeing afterwards and see their life change, see them get their kids back, see them achieve, a successful career, and even just making it 30 or 60 days clean and sober, like that alone, even if just that day you don't pick up, you don't use, that's a miracle in itself. Because a lot of people that come in, like myself, I didn't think I could be clean or sober for one day. I couldn't imagine that. Like I used for so many years, and just, it's crazy to think of the life I lived. It almost feels like it was somebody else. But I remind myself all the time that was me, and it could be me again if I don't continuously move forward. And for me to continuously move forward, helping people is part of that. It keeps me on track. And I've learned so much, like just from AA, NA, see how, Al-Anon, Alateen, counseling, spiritual retreats, speaker tapes. Like there's just so much I've been able to put in me. And I think it would be so selfish to just keep it to myself, because I know I'm going to run into somebody that was once me, and I want to give them what I needed in that moment. And that's why, to keep it, you got to give it away. Give back what was given to you so freely.
And the hardest person on that list to forgive is typically ourselves. But in order to go through everything you just talked with or talked about, you truly have to want to do the hard work.
Hmm.
I've said this before, people, they pray to God for a cake, and he's not going to give you the final product. He's going to give you the eggs and the baking soda and the sugar and the pan. I call it the IKEA version. He's going to give
Hmm.
you the IKEA version. It's up to us to assemble it, which takes some work.
Yeah.
And until you're really ready to do the work, None of the rest of that matters. But the hardest part in all that work is typically forgiving ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, Curious because you've posted in the past the photo of when you were in the hospital and on your deathbed.
Yeah.
Um, do you ever look back at that?
Oh yeah. All the time. When I'm sharing my own personal stories with people that are going through a challenging time, I show them pictures and I let them know, like, hey, I've done this, I've done that. That way we can share the similarities and they can see that I definitely wasn't perfect. So they feel more comfortable to, share their misdoings with me. And so I can help them, work through that. But yeah, that was pretty much the closest I've ever been to death, and that was because of bulimia too. I wasn't just blessed with alcoholism and drug addiction. I was blessed with bulimia too. So I started that around the same time as drugs when I was 13. And the majority of my life I was bulimic, and that paired with the only thing I would hold down was alcohol. It ended up giving me pancreatitis, and it also put my lipase down and my protein and everything down to such a deathly level. The doctor said they were surprised I was still walking, and I basically almost died of malnutrition. And yeah, that was scary. I was in the St. George, Utah hospital for a month. It
And
took that long.
if someone actually were to look at, I mean, you're a beautiful, vibrant person, and full of life and energy. And if they would to look at that photo or some from that time, it would be really hard to believe that it was less than a decade ago.
Well,
You
I was when that happened, I was 20. I think I was 19 or 20 years old. I know I wasn't even old enough to drink yet. I wasn't even 21, but yeah, I had pancreatitis,
Yeah.
But but yeah, and I was, I believe, 87 pounds,
Wow.
and my hair was falling out. So in that picture, I'm wearing uh like wig extension clip-ins, like a whole bunch of them, and my nails were all yellow and my skin was dry and I was fragile. And I remember my dad hugging me, was almost in tears because I was just so tiny and fragile. He was afraid he's going to hurt me. Just from sleeping at night, I would get bruises on the inside of my legs from like my bony knees touching my thigh. And I just, I look back and I still can't believe I lived like that. Like, it blows my mind. The freedom I have now is, I'm just so grateful. And I think that's why I'm such a positive person now too, cuz like I was really negative. I was around negative people. I was messed up and just making horrible choices in life and just so unhappy with myself, unhappy with the person I was with, unhappy with everything. And I didn't have the strength in me to be willing to do the work to change it, until I had no other choice and I knew I was going to die. And I took my mom's offer to come here and start a new life. But and now it's like I'm just so happy. I don't want to waste another second being depressed. Like, I understand you're not supposed to shove feelings away, but I also have learned that I have control of my feelings. People think they
Mm-hmm.
don't have control over that, but your mind power, that's all you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can control how you perceive something. And sometimes I need to take a step back and not react when something happens and just process it and figure out my perspective on it, my perception, and how do I want to think about this? How do I want to handle this? And then I can find that peace inside and then I move forward. And I try not to waste any time being depressed because I love life and I don't want to waste a second of it.
I love that. And our minds are our most powerful weapon against anything in life. We can change our life. We have, as you just said, control over our thoughts.
Yep.
If a thought pops into your head, it's not somebody else's thought. It may be their idea or their point of view, but
Hmm.
you're the one thinking it.
Yep.
So if you don't like it, change it, and you have control over that. And if something happens to you, you may not have had control over what happened to you, but you have a control over how you react to it, how you respond to it, and how you move forward with it. You know,
Yeah.
everything is a choice, and you can choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable.
Yep.
And some
That's
people are so caught up in their own victimhood that they choose to be miserable. And I am so thrilled to watch you blossom and choose to be happy. When we first spoke 2 years ago, it was very hard for you to share your story.
yeah.
You struggled finding the right words. Now, your church asks you to come and speak, and you go and you talk in front of a group of women. And when you shared your story, I know that you probably still had some trepidation about doing it. You probably still a little nerves, but the response you got afterward, what was that like for you?
It was amazing. And yes, I was a little nervous. I had shared my story in meetings, but with you, that was the first time I ever shared my whole story online for the whole world and the internet to see. And it's I across platforms, it's been viewed like over 1,000 times. But and then I was kind of nervous to share it at a church with, a group of women that have maybe never tried a drug or know an addict, but that's not true because everybody knows an addict or an alcoholic. But I was just a little bit nervous, but I was trying to figure out the best way to say it where it would touch others. And I prayed mostly. I was like, it's not about me. I was praying that God would use me to speak to somebody, to help somebody in some way. And that was the whole reason I even said yes. And once I got myself, my ego, my worries out of the way, and I just let God, do the pen to paper and have God speak through me, and made it so much simpler. And but yeah, so afterwards, when I walked off the platform, I had a few women there come up to me, and there was one woman who shared her daughter was an addiction and she was bawling, and she just asked me to pray for her. So I stood there and prayed with her, and I shared a little bit more of my story with her, and I was like, never lose hope, just be the loving mom you are, but don't enable her, but just know that she's loved, and be ready for her when she's ready to change her life. And then another woman came up to me, and she said that she had been using meth for most of her life, and she was new in recovery, and just like it touched her and it gave her strength and stuff. And I was like, man, that's awesome. And then I had other people that I didn't even know and weren't there, but since it was recorded and it was shared on the Inspire page and other people's pages, they would share it with their family members. So I had a dad ended up sharing it with his daughter that was having a hard time going through addiction and newly clean and sober. And she ended up contacting me, and we kept reaching out to each other. Now we're good friends, and we shared each other's story with each other. And it was crazy how many similarities, like down to date and times. Like it was just amazing. I felt like we were meant to meet, like God put each other in our lives so that we could connect and find healing and have support and everything. So but yeah, and then all the messages and just people writing me on Facebook, and my own family members, and it was awesome afterwards. I mean, I knew before, but especially afterwards there was that relief, and I knew I did the right thing. I feel like God spoke through me, and I said what I needed to say to reach who I needed to reach. So it was
Well,
definitely that thing.
I'm going to recommend this for you because this is the third time you've been on my program. And because you were the catalyst to start it, and because I have seen the numbers of people who have watched all 100, this will be the 103rd, so all
Oh,
102 all 102 shows prior to this, you have reached and changed the lives of thousands of individuals just on this platform alone. And because you were the catalyst that got this show started, God has a plan and a purpose for you, and He used you to create this that has now inspired and transformed thousands of lives. and you will continue to be the catalyst to change lives you will never meet or know about. But just know and take it, share all three of your episodes that are yours with anybody you want to and continue to change lives that way, but direct them back to this platform because you sparked the change for thousands of people.
Thank you, Daryl.
And
That's God. It's God for sure. But and I pray too that God would make me a vessel, that he would use me for good and give me direction. And I feel like he continues to do that. And once I kind of put myself aside and surrender to him, life has only gotten better. Life has only gotten better. And wherever he leads me, I trust that it's what needs to be done and where I should be.
well, just know that this is part of that, what you just said, because through you, thousands of lives are being changed or inspired or touched. So you are the vessel, and I'm thrilled to have crossed paths with you. I want to ask you real quick, how does, because you have a beautiful relationship with your spouse or your partner,
Yeah.
um, at least from what you share, but from the smile, I'd say it's true. How does someone go from death's door in that hell to meeting someone who now is walking this beautiful path with you?
Oh man. Um, so I was very toxic before, very toxic. Um, I had so much unhealed trauma. I felt unworthy, unloved. My self-esteem was low. Every kind of character defect you could think of, I had. And I should have never been in any relationship. All I did was attract other people that were very toxic, and it caused nothing but drama and pain and sorrow. And it took moving here, getting clean and sober, searching for a new way of life, uh, taking in all, knowledge I could, and like truly wanting to heal from the inside out and being willing to do the work, actually willing to do it and hungry for it. I was desperate for it. I had the gift of desperation, as they say. But it took years. I moved here in 2014. I had Jaden in 2015, and I met Tristan in 2016. Jaden was a year old, and I and it took a while of being clean and sober and being single and working on myself. I stayed friends with Tristan for years. So I think that also helped. And I had never done that before. In the past, I'd just be like, oh, you're cute. You think I'm cute? Okay, let's get together. And then, just be in this toxic relationship. And there was no, let's get to know each other first. Let's be friends. Let's make sure we're compatible. We like the same things. And let's see how we handle situations. There was none of that before until Tristan. And so we stayed friends. There was that moment in time when I went back to drinking, which is why I don't have 10 years, I only have 5. But I went back to drinking for a while, and Tristan was drinking too, and then we ended up getting sober together. And ever since, and we already had like a great friendship, I guess kind of friends with benefit thing, while we were drinking together. But when we got sober together and became serious, it amplified like 10 times. And we're so much alike. And we both have been cheated on horribly. We both have been through so much pain, and so we understand each other, in that sense. We've been through similar backgrounds. He had a period of life of addiction too. And we're both very non-confrontational. And and plus he was my best friend before, so he was already the person I would go to and talk about everything to. We had great communication. I could tell him anything. He could tell me anything. And now that's only grown. We talk about everything. And I think communication, healthy communication is I think it's one of the things that keeps a relationship strong. It's so important. If you don't have that, that's just a whole mess of other problems waiting to happen, you know? But we're able to talk about everything, and we both have the same wants and goals, and we work really good together as a team, which is why we're able to actually work together. He's my boss, and we don't fight, you know, we don't argue. We talk about everything. And it blows my mind that we're able to be together in the mornings. We spend our mornings together when we wake up. We spend all day together at the shop at his business, and then we come home, and the majority of the time we're together, unless I'm going to the grocery store or running Jane to football practice, you know. But and then we go to bed together, and it's like it's never enough, and I don't understand that because I have a time limit with everybody in my life. It makes no sense to me. You think it would drive somebody crazy, but it doesn't. And yeah, I don't know. So I guess working on myself, and then also him, he worked on a lot of things within himself too to heal from his past stuff. We didn't bring baggage into the relationship, you know, and and then shared experiences, shared goals, healthy communication. Um, and also I'm so attracted to him in every way. Like I I feel like a schoolgirl. I admire him, everything about him. He's so intelligent. He's the smartest person I'd ever been with. He's compassionate. We still play fight and wrestle and pick on each other. We're so sarcastic. We make fun of each other. It's so we smack each other's butts at, you know, the shop, like all the fun stuff. Like, and I cherish it all. And I love taking care of him in every way possible. I love making his life easier. He loves making my life easier. And we work together as a team so well. And there's no one else on this earth I could imagine being with by him. And I can't leave this out. He's amazing with Jaden. Like Jaden loves him so much, and he loves Jaden so much. We all cuddle together at night before bed. We pray together. He's taught him so much, and watching because he's known Jaden since he was a baby, but he didn't actually become serious in my life until Jaden was 3. And from that moment forward, he was constantly teaching him things and just loving on him. And a lot of the stuff Jaden knows is because of him. And Jaden loves him so much, and he calls him dad. He's called him dad basically since the beginning. And you know, being a mom, uh, and then going into a relationship with somebody, your biggest fear is that your new partner isn't going to love your child the way you do. How are they going to get along, you know? And from the very start, that worry was taken away. Tristan made it very clear. He's like, I know I don't want to just be with you. I know I'm signing up for Jaden too. I want Jaden in my life. I want to be everything I can be to him and be a good role model. And I want to raise a healthy family. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that,
and that is amazing. And those who are watching this may have seen Tristan popped his head in the back. He must have heard his name. So that was him. That was him. But you know, having found that with Elsa, and I know that communication is vital. We still argue and fight. We don't have the luxury that you do of non-fighting. We we still were two separate people for too long that we still fight, but we do a good job on communicating and respecting each other and loving each other. And I know that that kind of relationship is out there for those who are willing to work for it. But even in spite of all the joy and happiness, it does take a lot of work every single day. And my daughter is now 25. I met her when she was 2 from a previous marriage. She's been my daughter ever since. And much like Tristan, you know going in that it's a joint package.
yep,
And her, it's funny, side note, her biological dad didn't want to allow me to adopt her when I wanted to. So I just said, fuck you. And I changed her name legally, and she's been mine ever since. So
Aw, good,
yeah,
good.
yeah. So there are men out there who are willing to blood does not make you a family. Love makes
Right,
you family. And
right.
I admire men like him who stand up and do what's right for their family, not just for themselves. So I have not personally met him, but I admire him. And
Well, we will
yeah,
soon, hopefully, when
I
you come
will.
visit.
Yes, young men like that are so valuable to this world. Next week is Christmas, when you get to honor your God and the birth of your Savior. What does 2025 look like as you enter into this new season?
Oh, so I've taken our church moved over to a new location, and I've been asked to kind of move up in responsibilities with the church, here and there. And so I'm looking forward to learning new ways that I can serve, be of service, and help everything that goes on there, and help spread the word and live by example, um, and be a true example, because I want people to, look at me and want what I have. That love, that peace, I want to be a good example. I don't want to ever turn somebody away and think like, "Oh, she says she's a Christian, I don't want that." I want to live by example so that they can have this feeling, this love that I get to have. And then the business, our machine slash gun shop, R&D Precision, just focusing on continuing to build that. That takes definitely a lot of our time, a lot of commitment. um and and then always sports with Jaden. That's a really huge thing with him. And I feel so I was an addict. His biological father was an addict. My parents were addicts. His biological dad's parents were addicts. So he is quadruple blessed with addicts on both sides. And he has that like obsessive mind and that, energy. And I can tell that if it's directed in the right place, he could be very successful. He could go far. Like anything he puts his mind to, he is all in on it, and he makes it happen. And if he focuses it in a good direction, I know the sky's the limit. But if he ends up picking up on the addict side, I know that could be detrimental, and I don't want that. So I'm really happy that he loves sports. He loves learning. He's in soccer and football. We're just going to keep doing that every year. And then maybe even throwing football or something like that. But that alone, sport, to all the parents out there that are sports parents, it is a lot. It's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of money, but it's a lot of dedication. And when you work a job all day, and then for 2 hours, Monday through Friday, afterwards, you got to go to a practice and drive him and get him all dressed up and ready to go, and then somehow figure out grocery shopping and cooking dinner and your other responsibilities and showers and all that, and getting ready for school the next day. Like, that is so much. And my hat is off to all the parents that do it, but it's so worth it. It is so worth it. And I know that as long as we stay on this path, it'll make a huge difference in his life.
Yeah.
And also I love that he loves it so much, and seeing that joy in his eyes, and when he learns something and he achieves that goal, it's just it's amazing watching that. It makes me so happy to see him so happy and healthy.
So I'm gonna say two things to the audience right now. If you were to look at Mercedes and you were to look at Tristan, you'd see the piercings, you'd see the body tattoos, you'd see Tristan wears his hat backwards with his pants long. But what you don't see until you actually speak to somebody is their heart and their light. Now, I will retract that because your light shines way ahead of you entering a room, so that comes through. But I want to caution people to not judge what they see, get to know, answer questions, and get to judge what they feel,
Yeah.
because Mercedes Hale is a true example of love and light and what God can bring. And you can't judge where she's been from where she's going, because the depths of hell have made her stronger to stand on the platform she's standing on and shout the word of God and the love in her heart and to help others. So I caution all those judgy people out there to get to know a person, ask a question, stop judging by the exterior and judge by their interior. Now,
Amen.
I will say I've known women who are as pretty as Mercedes, but they need the lipstick on the inside, not the outside. Mercedes doesn't.
That's funny.
So, you are living what God has put in your heart, and you are shining brightly, and I'm just thrilled that you're in my tribe. I asked you 3 times or 2 times now. I'm going to ask you again. You've been an integral part of my group and my warrior spirit. What does a warrior spirit mean to you today versus what it meant to you the last time I asked you?
Oh man. I feel like I get my power and my strength from inward, from God, from the power that He puts within me. And I feel like a warrior spirit is somebody that's willing to do the work, is willing to get up and keep fighting and keep working on themselves and keep trying to reach that goal, and then turn around and help the others behind them once they make it, or along the way. And a warrior spirit has a fighting heart that just seeks to achieve and help others achieve. Yeah.
I love that. And you and Tristan certainly embody that. And it's just an honor. Thank you for coming back and finishing up year 2 with me. As I enter into year 3, I know that we're going to continue to be in each other's circle and do some good things together. I've got some ideas of how you can continue to shine that light of yours. So thank you for doing this today.
I want to quickly say I
Absolutely.
am I am so happy for you, Daryl, and I am so proud of you. I can't believe it's already been 2 years. It's crazy how fast time flies. But just seeing your dedication and every week and all the work and energy and everything you put into this, you put it all of your heart into it, and all the other things you do on the side, the coaching and everything. Your life is about helping others, and I admire that. I admire that so much. It's very inspiring. And you say like you've touched, all these people's lives, and I think the same thing about you. Like think about all the people just through a warrior spirit alone that you've brought on to your podcast to share their stories. You've helped them, and then all the people that have watched that and have it's resonated with them and they could relate and it helped inspire them, and all of that stems back to because you listen to what you felt you were being told to do, and you followed through, you did the work, you dedicated yourself, and you were determined to make this work, and you have, and you continue to do that for 2 years now. And I appreciate that. And I absolutely love that. And I can't wait to meet you and Elsa in person.
Yeah, we'll make that happen for sure. And thank you for saying that. And it truly is about listening to what God tells you. You know, a lot of times we'll say, Jesus, take the wheel, but we still got our left hand on it. We're trying to, it's like when you fully
Yep.
release the wheel and actually do where he's leading you,
Yep.
sometimes we don't have an understanding of why we're being asked to do what we are asked to do, but he knows a bigger plan than we can see. And we have to
Right.
trust and follow what's being put in our heart to do that. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And many blessings to you and your family. Have a Merry Christmas next week, and
Thank you.
we will see you in 2025.
All right. You as well.
All righty. Bye now.